Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the JY podcast. Today, we're going to be reviewing The Falcon and the Winter Soldier in its entirety. There might be some spoilers, so just be careful about that. And yeah, first, we're going to start on the positives as usual and then talk about some things we didn't like.
I think in the show, the addition of Zemo is great. He works really well in this show, and his dynamic with Bucky and Sam is just great to see on screen. I wish we saw more of that, but it really does get you more intrigued with Zemo as a character. I think another thing that it does really well is tackling real world issues in this show. Um, I just think they did a great job on that, and it just works well.
Yeah, something I appreciated was that both Falcon and Winter Soldier, they both didn't have too much of this of the spotlight in the MCU movies. So to give these two in particular their own show and really like delve into their character was something that I appreciated, especially Sam Wilson, the Falcon. I thought he definitely needed some more screen time. And so I think they used it wisely, his time on the screen. So that's something they should be commended for.
Yeah, and what this show does really well is before, if you weren't really intrigued with Sam Wilson as a character, I think this show does a much better job with you getting interested in him and just more excited for what they're going to do with him in the future.
Yeah, and at least for me, this will be the final positive I have. But I like Sam's entire character arc. You know where he starts and where he ends. I thought was pretty natural, kind of fitting, and so yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, and one last thing is Sam and Bucky's like friendship and dynamic in the show works really well. You can just see how they start off, kind of not wanting to be around each other, and by the end, you can just feel how they're friends. And I'm excited to see this duo more in the future. I think they work really well as a team.
Right. So I want to clarify those were very important positives. You know, because I we do have some things to say negatively, but I want everyone to realize that these are really important, and so these things we brought up are really what carries the show a good distance.
Yeah, I mean, these things really help the show, as you said. I think one thing that really drags it down, though, is the Flag Smashers or Carly as a villains. They're just truly underdeveloped, and I could care less for them. They're really poorly written, in my opinion.
Yeah, they kept wanting us to sympathize with her, but I didn't at all. Like they would show something like her helping a dying child, which is pretty nice, and then she would go bomb a building full of civilians. You know, like I don't really get why they were so keen on making us sympathize with her. Like at the end, like Sam says, "Don't call her a terrorist." Like she's kind of the textbook definition of a terrorist. So I don't know.
Yeah, and one thing they try to do, to get us to sympathize is constantly repeat this. Like, she has the right idea, but doing it in the wrong way. It feels so forced to me, at least. And that speech Sam gave at the end, where he was like defending her, I really hated that. I just didn't like the approach with his character, and it was just kind of generic too.
Yeah, what you just said, the whole like she has the wrong methods. That's been done so many times with so many villains, and it's I think people in Hollywood just think that that's a smart idea to get people to sympathize. Like if they have a good motive, then we'll not care about their actions. But that's not true at all. Like not even a little bit.
Yeah, and I'd arguably say she's one of the worst villains that Marvel Universe has ever had, or like the shows and movies. She just really is boring, and any of her scenes on the shows, I just didn't really care for. She was just not a good character. And if we're gonna speak about like poorly written villains, I kind of want to go to the next point about Power Broker being Sharon, which was just another unnecessary thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really care about Sharon at all, like before the show, and then this show didn't change that even a little bit. Like she came in and she gave like some information or something and like saved them I like a little bit, and then that was it. She stuck around a little bit in the show longer than she needed to, doing pretty much nothing, and then at the end she still didn't do anything until the last 10 minutes of the show. So I didn't really get why she was there at all.
Yeah, I don't know if I 100% blame this route. I mean, it was pretty stupid in my opinion, but there wasn't really much to go with this character. I don't even think she really should have been brought back. Um, yeah, but I just think turning her evil was just the unnecessary turn. I don't really care about seeing her character in the future. I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe she's gonna be the villain for the next season, but I don't really seeing her have a big role in these movies.
Yeah, and like you said about her being the power broker, like that being a villain, I don't even really see Power Broker as a villain. It's more like just some random criminal that's in like some country. Like it seems really dumb to me.
Yeah. I think we kind of covered that part well. I kind of want to move towards Bucky in this show, and I really feel like he was truly underused and not given the screen time he deserved.
Yeah, really. Like he had an interesting character development in the movies where he kind of had like self-doubt, and he wasn't sure if he could ever forgive himself, and they do kind of continue this in the show, but it felt weird, because it kind of just happened at the end when Sam just gave him like a little pep talk or something. Because like throughout the whole thing is like Sam gave away his shield, and so that makes Bucky think Captain America was wrong about both of them, which doesn't make sense at all to me. But then like he feels that way for the entire thing until the very very end. So it felt rushed and incomplete.
Yeah, I did like the scenes where they kind of tackle his PTSD. I think it's just mainly the fact that Sebastian Stan is a great actor. The scene where he's in Wakanda and he's like finally free, I thought that was like one of the greatest scenes in the show. But him as a character, like I think ever since Civil War, he's just really not been used to his full potential. I don't know how he's going to be used in the future. I hope maybe if they do a second season of this show, or they've announced a Captain America 4 happening with probably these two characters. I hope he gets more screen time and development he deserves. I One thing I really hated was at the end when they revealed the new title card. It was like Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I don't know why they're still calling him the Winter Soldier instead of just White Wolf. It just kind of felt off to me, at least.
I do think now that you mention that there is some potential there though, because a lot of this show was focused towards Sam and his kind of development towards being a new person. Maybe what they're intending to do is in the second season, it's Bucky's journey, but like they still kind of completed it in this one, just not in a satisfactory way. So I don't know if that's what they plan to do, like just focus on him next season, or if they I don't know, they're just giving up on him. They said good enough and left, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the show just didn't really get me too hooked on him. And I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this Captain America trilogy continuing with Sam. I think it could be interesting, but it's the same. It's gonna be like the same director as the one for this show, which kind of scares me because I don't want them to have this. I don't want this movie to have the same issues that this show had. Because Captain America trilogy, in my opinion, so far is pretty good. Like the three movies we've gotten are great. It's a pretty flawless trilogy.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really care too much about the Captain America movies because like he's just a character I don't care about. But like this show, I don't know. I almost disagree with you on that because they kind of just made Sam into almost the same thing as Captain America, just with more, like civil rights and like I can't think of the word right now. Social justice, that's the word. He's just Captain America with more social justice. So I don't see a big problem. I think if they force that too hard, then it might become weird in a way. But I think they are in a position where they could just keep going as they always have, which would be fine since, like you said, the other movies were great.
Yeah, I this show, it was okay for me overall. Um, I don't know, like, I think really the strong things in the show were what we mentioned. Also, one thing was John Walker, which we kind of forgot to mention as like something that was great. He's a character that I really liked in the show. I like the characters in the show. He was the most intriguing to me. He actually had great development, despite his role in the finale was kind of off to me, but he was a good character. I don't know why in the finale he kind of switched. It felt like it was too quick. They were kind of showing him go down this dark path, and then he suddenly switches in the finale. But I'm excited to see him in the hopefully Thunderbolt show.
Yeah, his in the finale, they kind of took some weird turn with him for like a second. He completely lost his mind and he was like an animal, and then he just snaps back to it and he's just normal as he always was, which is really weird. I was hoping they would do some kind of thing because, like, in the later movies, Captain America himself, he kind of learned that sometimes you need to disobey the government to do the right thing, and that's kind of what John Walker. He was in like a darker version of that, where he's being punished by the government for something that he believes was right. That could have been something really interesting to like explore, but instead they kind of ignored it because at the very end he just goes back to being a government agent. So I don't know what they're going to do with him in the future.
Yeah, I think I've concluded mostly what I want to say about this show. Is there like any other last issues you had?
I think if I just wanted to summarize all of my complaints about the show, it would just be that they tended to waste characters. That's kind of just it. They did like they some a lot of the characters were really good, but they didn't get the final push that they needed, which I think that's what happened to Bucky. That's what happened to John Walker. I guess the power broke her, but she wasn't even close to the finish. But and then Carly, I think she probably was pretty close to being exactly where she needed to be. So I would say that applies to her as well. So yeah, I think it kind of fell flat right at the finish, but up until then, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, the finale just kind of felt weak for me. Episode 5 was kind of fillery to me, in my opinion. I didn't really feel like it added much to this show, but the first few episodes were, I guess, decent. They still had their issues, but yeah, I prefer WandaVision over this show. But the one thing it did better was the finale in this. The WandaVision finale was kind of a mess, but if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of tough to give it because there's so many pros and there's so many cons. I would have to say 7, maybe 7.5, because I did ultimately it killed time. It was fun to watch. I think I liked it.
Yeah, I think that's gonna conclude our episode. Let us know what you guys thought about the show in the comments. Did you enjoy it or did you kind of find it mediocre or bad like us? And yeah, thank you for watching.